We are all quite, should I say, excited about seeing Lungisa on television, saying very interesting things about state capture and corruption and so on and so forth. And perhaps we haven't done enough as South Africans, but particularly the intellectual community, to start posing the question, what is it that leads to this kind of conduct, whether it be in the public or the private sectors? Yes, there will be elements of greed, there will be elements of people trying to have lifestyles that they cannot afford. But there is also the question, if we were to look at the business community in particular, when one looks at the litany of companies that are implicated, local and international, the question starts to arise, do we have the tendency amongst corporates generally on a global scale to adapt to corrupt environments in which they operate?
Well, there is research that shows if we add them up, they're sociopaths. So the brief answer would be no, but they're human beings behind it who have to have the capacity.
Yes, and a general culture within the private sector and the business community, as I'm saying, to adapt to corrupt environments within which they operate. If in order to get a contract from SARS, not the current one, about how to restructure what kind of IT systems to have and who to get rid of, do people adapt to that environment in order to get earnings and get rewarded where they work? So there is a broader question that all of us need to reflect on, whether in the public or private sectors. The second issue in relation to this that I also would like to raise pertains to a matter to do with consumer demand and efficiency of the economy generally, but relates to ethics, and that is collusion and competition. There is a paper that was released by the South African Reserve Bank some 4 or 5 years ago. South Africa has got high markup prices in its product markets because of the level of concentration in the economy, as well as collusion that is attached to that, both private and public in relation to administered prices.
Thembalihle Baloyi is on my case all the time to have teaching competition law and competition law, but you're right, it's an important conversation. Michael, one sentence. Why do you come to the ethics think tank? Why don't you just send people in your organization?
Look, ethics is very important in this country, and I think that if you don't lead from the front, then people won't follow. I think that ethical leadership at the end of the day stems from the top, and it's important kind of for me to upskill constantly and to be involved in the conversation, but then to demonstrate leadership from the front. I think that that's very important. Can I say one last point on Lungisa's point?
I've let Joel, so I have to.
Okay, just to say that, I completely agree. The overreaction to isolated incidents of accounting corruption or whatever you want to call it, by overreacting, you tend to overregulate. Now, everyone I speak to in the corporate world, they're going through hell with their accountants for the most recent set of results, because the accountants are so nervous that if anything goes wrong, they're going to be taken to task. Similarly, in the banking sector, you had the VBS failure. If you look at the amount of circulars the Reserve Bank's put out around independent boards, around audit rotation, they are reacting in a very big way. The problem with that increased regulation is that the people who try to comply and be govern appropriately end up spending a lot more money and time. You have to pass that cost on to the consumer. And you still don't catch a VBS with lots of regulation and intense regulation. Similarly with money laundering. The amount of money the banks have spent on money laundering, anti-money laundering, I should say, is huge. A huge amount of money being spent.
I won't show a response. Right? I'll probe you on it.